everybody, this is Rose of Sharon, and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently read The Land of Stories, The Ultimate Book Hugger's Guide, written by none other than the illustrious Chris Colfer. Yay! Sorry for the outburst there, but as you probably well know by now if you've watched my channel enough, I am a really big fan of Chris's work, and he is tremendous. He actually did his homework. He has pictures of actually visiting the Brothers Grimm graves, which I think would be a tremendous journey in and of itself. And he mentioned that he was actually very touched by the fact that people leave mementos there and notes of thanks and all of that. And I'm kind of wondering if Hans Christian Andersen probably receives the same kind of notoriety himself at his gravesite. He probably does. I don't know. But it's interesting that he sticks to the original versions of the story, like with the Little Mermaid and Mermaidia. That's mentioned in the book, the different kingdoms that are actually in the Land of Stories. And yes, there's spoilers involved, so be warned if you actually pick up the Ultimate Book Hugger's Guide that there are a lot of different elements within the book itself that are going to ruin the rest of the series for you. Actually, it may not. If you're like me, it probably would, because I've read the whole series and I've loved every minute of it, but it's sort of kind of bittersweet coming to that conclusion, because even Chris himself mentions that there was more than enough material for him to work with in order to have written prequels and sequels, and he didn't do so just because he thought it was too much of a good thing. And it's almost the same premise of know when to stop sort of theory, and we can write about the material that's already presented or the material that he had, and then just stick with that. And since it's public domain, he even has an interview with Mother Goose, and it's actually quite hilarious, and he mentions that to her, and she almost has a conniption due to that. But as far as the books are concerned, it's just absolutely tremendous. It is nothing short of mesmerizing and enchanting, and there's some exceptional photographs in there of the third-rate project he had when he actually developed the Land of Stories versus later on with him becoming an actor and writing Struck by Lightning, and how in Struck by Lightning there's an actress who played an elderly woman who pretty much became the basis or the muse and inspiration for him creating Mother Goose. And I thought, now I really need to see that film, because it was one movie I wanted to see in a long time, just due to the fact that I love Glee when it was the most popular show in television, and for good reason. It really tackled some very taboo topics that normally wouldn't have been touched, and Land of Stories deals with some very interesting topics, some controversial topics that a lot of people might think, oh, well, you're poisoning the brains of young readers, and I personally don't see it that way. I really think that Land of Stories, like a lot of television shows, a lot of cartoons that are out now, and one of the main ones, well, a couple that come to mind are Adventure Time and Steven Universe, that deal with issues like this, and more we're seeing that, and personally I think it's a good thing, and I believe that more people should be open-minded and not so harsh to judge people who have different beliefs or different upbringing, or might love somebody of the same gender. It doesn't matter, because we're all human when it comes right down to it. We all bleed the same color. But a lot of people are rather intrigued by that due to my politics. When I took a test, it said I was basically, what was it? A neoliberal, which I thought, I don't see how that's possible because I came from a very conservative family, moderately conservative, mind you. But, yeah, I do agree with some liberal ideas. But I'm not entirely liberal per se. I'm right smack dab in the middle, but independent. But I do think that open-mindedness is excellent. I think forums for discussion, when civil, are excellent and tremendous to actually forming a good basis of progress. And I think Chris has done this in his book. Maybe, I know it's a children's book, a book for youth, but with such things as Trailblazers often do, it's a good format and a way to introduce young minds into thinking a way that may not always be popular with the with society or anything like that, but I thought it was really sensational that he addressed a lot of issues within the duration of the series in and of itself. And I really don't have that much to say about it other than it is spectacular, it's astronomical, and phenomenally written. If you haven't read the original series, then I highly recommend it before you read Bookhuggers, because, like I said, it could definitely spoil a lot of good surprises that Chris has actually tucked away, and he has some extra stories, more like bonus content involving Connor and Alex, and it's actually very funny because it's not from Connor and Alex's perspective, but it's from the perspective of the outside looking in, thinking, where the heck are they? Why aren't they in school? Should we do something? Should we be concerned? That kind of mentality. And I thought, yeah, well, that makes sense coming from an adult not knowing where their child is, and just that overall sense of dread, thinking, oh my God, where could they be? And, you know, it's relatable, and I'm glad that he incorporates that into a story that's more magical, but it has a lot of good moral and ethical pearls of wisdom to be gleaned from it. And unfortunately, it's unbelievably short, but there are a lot of things that are absolutely sensational about it, including the artwork. And the artwork has a very whimsical, very nostalgic style that kind of makes me think, well, it doesn't kind of make me think, but it really brings to mind the fairy tales I was told as a child. And I was introduced to the original, which I'm glad Mom and Dad did, because they wanted me to have the whole experience, which I approve. And children are smart, and they can figure things out on their own. They don't really need to have everything sugar-coated for them, though they shouldn't be pushed to exit their childhood so early. They need to experience their childhood, and they need to relish that when they're young, because if they don't, then they might try to compensate for that later. And actually, I witnessed that in my own mom. She didn't really have that much of a childhood. She took care of her siblings, and she was relegated to the task of being their parent while Grandma and Grandpa basically went their own way and did their own thing, which is neither good nor bad or here nor there, but she was pretty much a big kid. And I remember that growing up, but I never held it against her. I always loved her, but I always thought Mom, you are getting to be the age where you really shouldn't be acting like that. But nonetheless, I found it fine. I didn't really think it was bad that she acted that way, but that's about all I gotta say. So until next time, live long, prosper. Ciao, Tutti.